Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Roots and Wings Unscripted. Today we're gonna see that should be our new intro. Screw the intro we already have. Just you going more wow, chicken wow. Today, what are we going to be talking about today, Toby? You introduce it. I feel like you're doing all every time.
I've been upgraded.
You've been upgraded.
So
you can speak.
basically, what we wanted to talk to you guys about was a bit into how music and being an artist has evolved from what it used to be and the things it is now,
and being in a band today, being a musician today, because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people out there there are a lot of people out there in our position of being in a band, whether that be, and obviously our position is an independent band, working, grafting, doing all the bits that we do ourselves. But just before we get into it, by the time this episode is out, we'd be 3 or 4 days away from our new release of Fall in Line. Friday the 29th of August. So go and check it out. I'm honestly buzzing for that one.
Oh, so it is. And there's an extra little thing coming with it, but we will not say.
But anyways. So yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I feel we're in a position with a lot of other artists, where being a band or an independent artist of any kind and of any genre has a very specific path to follow. I feel like you have a very set way, and this is the way that I feel the industry in general is structured. I feel you've got a very set way of sort of doing things, branding's always been a thing, but it's just that there's one route to follow, and it feels like ironic. Our song basically talks about that. Fall in line, or don't. But I guess what I'm trying to get at here, with not too many words,
I'm trying to listen,
is that you either do it one way or you're screwed. There's Pretty no much. Other way around it, and being a band today, being a independent artist today, means you just need to be everything. I feel you need to have control over everything, which is great. It has positives and negatives, of course, but it means that you've got to be the musician, you've got to be, the actor, because you do all of your bits on socials and promoting.
Have to be somewhat funny. I mean, it's not as important when it comes to entirely being that funny guy, doing everything and making sure everything works. But I feel like the problem is, in some ways, I feel like now it's not as much about, your music, in the sense of, because everything's digital and everything's online, right? That just means that essentially, if it all goes...
Have you ever had a dream where you think you had
basically, if sounds good but everything else isn't, I feel like you get a bit underplayed and neglected a bit.
It's just there's no sort of... It's difficult in a sense that you've got to have... what I think what you're trying to get at here is that when social media wasn't a thing, all you needed to do was a good player, a good musician, and be committed. If you had commitment, if you wanted to work your arse off and be a musician, and you had your chops, you could play and you could sing, or you'd had a talent, that was enough. You could be a great drummer, and that's all you need to be. Whereas now you've got to be a great drummer. Say you're a drummer and you want to be...
I am.
But say you want to be, you're a drummer and you want to, make a career out of it. You can either go and choose to go into the session playing world, which is completely different, or if you want to do what we're doing, you've got to put the graft in every day to have consistency around your socials. You've got to find your own gigs. You've got to, build a fan base so that you can then be brought up to a certain level, because nobody really cares about you until you've got a certain amount of a following, and this is the way that record labels operate these days, where I hear it a lot, and you see it everywhere. Artists sort of share their experiences with labels where they would get rejected, not because their music isn't good enough, not because they're not talented, but because they don't have enough of a following. Because labels these days want to see, it's not like it used to be where they just come and see you in a pub or in a place, they'd love what you do, and they sign you on, and they just take you from nothing to what you become. They want to see you already being halfway there, so then they already start from not scratch.
Yeah. I think
and just take you further.
I think the thing is as well. It's like, obviously, a while back you used to have scouts, and I don't know obviously specifically how the scouting works for bands. I don't know if it's all digital or if there are some old school.
Well, yeah, there'll definitely be some old school labels around and old school scouts.
Like, the thing is that
it's still seeing that investment of okay, they've got
if you're digital, if you're a scout digitally. That's not authentic. That's not what you're like. You could have taken 10 takes to do that one really good sound and then one really good thing. But when you're live, you cock it up, right?
Yeah.
And I think
it's different because you can be perfect.
I think you should
online.
And I think it seems to be like you have to socials. Yeah, it seems like you have to somewhat get lucky, or no one's willing to invest in you because they don't see it. I mean, it's like
I mean, they, like I say, they just want, they don't, I don't feel like they pick you up from zero anymore. They want to pick you up when you're at 50%, so they can take you from 50 to 100%. And already they want to see that their investment is going to have some return. Because if you've already done 50% of the job yourself, it means that maybe they can put more money and effort into you and bring you then up to 100%. But, it's definitely, I mean, the thing is, if you're in it because you love it, and luckily we do, it doesn't really matter what you do, because we've had experiences. I mean, I certainly had experiences where we've played to a few thousand people, and we've played to a few hundred people, and we've played to 24 people and less, or 2 people,
or no one,
or no one. But it genuinely depends on who you've got in front of you and how the crowd reacts. So it doesn't really matter, but it is just the vibe of the room.
But that's kind of the thing about the brand. I know you said there's branding, but you look at Sabrina Carpenter. Everything about her is branded in the sense of how she looks, what she dresses, how she moves, how everything's choreographed.
Yeah,
how
it's
her
all.
albums.
Yeah.
It's just, and it just seems very, very, very orchestrated in the sense of what you are seen to be for the industry is what you are. And I know obviously like you could kind of get that with older kind of bands. They probably had a branding and
it's I think across but
I will
have a dream. You think
I will finish. I haven't finished.
Cameraman, you talk so much, I don't know when to stop and when to start.
What I was just saying is like I feel like the thing with socials is that what is it? I feel like once you branded, it's hard to unbrand. Whereas like a while back, if you had a brand and then you wanted to evolve, because there was no record of what you were and how you became that now and how it's all focused, and you have to sort of market it and push it on every social media platform. It feels like you kind of can't evolve as much.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I feel like it used to be just more of a, you make good music, great, people will listen to you. But I think there's always had to be across the board. There's always had to be that idea of branding, whether people were aware of it or not. You always wanted to go for something. You always wanted the band or the act or the person, whatever they did, that had that consistency of how they look, how they sing, how they feel, how they what they do, and a message, which is a really important thing that we've discovered and we found out over the 2 odd years of us, but it's certainly important to know what you're about. But there's also that element of just sometimes you think, well, I just want to, I don't want to. Sometimes I don't have a message. Sometimes I just want to do music. Sometimes I just, But that's the thing, that's what music's always been to people. It's always been it's always meant something, and that's the whole reason why music exists, because it has a correlation to something, to feeling, you know. But you know, there's definitely struggles. But like I was saying, it doesn't matter how hard it is. If you love it, you do it, and you go through, you know, everything that you possibly can to achieve what you want to achieve. And it's not necessarily to do with the level, because you can be at different stages but be just as satisfied. You know, I love what we do every single day. I love the things that we've got. I love the community that we've got, the small little, you know, group of fans that we've got, and
I think I like
just the prospect of the future.
I think I like the fact that when you're sort of not, I wouldn't say at bottom, because we're not, you know, but I feel like,
Well, we're established
Yeah.
in the sense of we're running, we're functioning,
Yeah.
but we're still very much
yeah,
at the start, you know.
but I think it's being hungry for it every single day.
Yeah.
It's like, because a lot of athletes and a lot of like artists, they say, you know, once they're there, you know,
Yeah.
um,
And you don't, you know, it's funny because sometimes you're hungry for it and you want it. Sometimes you feel like just dropping everything, but it's nothing to do with motivation. It's everything to do with consistency. It's just it's like bulking when you go to the gym. You know, whether you want it or not, you have to eat. So do it, because otherwise you won't achieve anything.
and also I think,
and
you know,
have to pick yourself up.
that's the advantage. I think this might get quite deep, but for me personally, right, the advantage of having immortality, right, knowing your mortality, it's sort of, I look at it in the sense of, if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna do it. So I can't just give it. I can't give it up now, because then it'll never happen. You know, if you think you've got something and you believe that you can do it, you have to.
You've just got to push for it, yeah.
But
and that's exactly what we're doing.
There is a positive about socials, actually. One thing is that you can now at least somewhat track your progression because of statistics.
Well, I
because
mean,
of analytics, you can see the viewing going up, and you can go, right, this is working, this isn't. So you can kind of sort of market yourself and gauge your improvement. Whereas obviously, if you just sort of did a bunch of gigs and then you had the 10 people kept coming and coming and coming, back then it was like, well, I don't know, is this all I'm going to get?
There's loads of pros and cons for socials, and I think for the way for the way that being a musician today is, because you know it's become more difficult because people have got more access to platforms where they can be better at music, but they can also release their own music without having a major label behind them and with thousands or millions, you know. You have a laptop, you have an instrument, you can make music, and if you invest time and effort into improving your skills, then anyone can put music out, and anybody can do anything they want, which is excellent. But it then obviously means that it's become such a saturated business because there's so many people doing it.
Question. I'm gonna go off the rails a bit, but I just thought of it now, and I think it'd be interesting.
We love an impromptu question
for you guys, and generally is, I think, if you could change anything about socials, what would you change? And I think one thing we know we'd change, and obviously this is just a change now, but I want to ask the question again. But obviously now Instagram, as we know, the to go live on Instagram is 1,000 followers.
Yeah, fuck that.
I don't think it should ever really have a level. I think it should be for everyone.
There's limitations in that sense. That's something that I saw recently, and I really didn't like, because it's going to put a damper on a lot of people and a lot of artists, and it has on us, because we relied a lot on Instagram lives, and which is fine, because we're just going to move to TikTok until Instagram does their thing again. But it's just really annoying to not be able to connect, because you know, you can post, you can DM, you can do stories and stuff, but you know, going live, it kind of feels like being there, you know. And then it's great for us to get to know our fans, and it's great for our fans to get to know us. And when I'm cooking on most lives that we go on, we need to do another live. Well, TikTok live.
Sort it out, Instagram.
Yep. Sort it out for sure. Christ.
Yeah, so back to the question then. So if you could change or evolve any part of socials, what would it be?
Oh, I feel like that's a really, really tough question.
Thank you.
It doesn't mean it's a smart question. It just means it's tough. I mean,
smart questions are tough.
I feel, I'm thinking about it, because there's definitely, yeah, you definitely should put your hat back on. There's definitely a lot of pros, but I think, I don't know. You have me there. I
You
don't know.
had me at
I don't know what I would
what?
change about social media.
I don't think it. Well,
I
here you
was
go.
gonna say
Evolve
something, yeah,
as
but I
well.
was gonna say something like, opportunity to sort of be seen, but that's kind of what it is already. You put something out, you're immediately seen by more people than normal.
Mm.
I don't think they're doing necessarily anything that I want to change. I
It's just to
mean
like
that,
add to it.
yeah.
I mean, if
Well,
you get,
Instagram
well,
needs to get rid of that bullshit.
like classrooms. We'll come back to you. You go stand in the
Yeah,
corner,
well,
fall
yeah,
asleep.
I'll go in the corner.
Well, let me have a think then, because I'm just I feel like the thing I think socials could do a bit more is I feel like with artists who are already established and people who aren't, I feel like socials could probably try and push more underground artists and accounts more. Like
Yeah,
I know obviously that you push like the
like give them the opportunity of that
engagement,
viral moment,
yeah,
or at least not viral, but
or just basically sort of
improvement
like a bit
and
like an X Factor
exposure.
kind of
Yeah,
thing, in the sense of like, let's say you're Youngblood, right? And obviously he's doing bits now, good on him as he deserves. He doesn't really need to be pushed. He's going to gain things, right? And I'm not saying obviously you don't push anyone like him because
yeah,
he's gonna be like, well, that's not fair. But any good artist who's made it right should feel like they should help another artist get there, because as I say, you can only, as musicians, you can only benefit each other. Like I was speaking to my barber,
yeah.
right?
Too
And
much
we were,
talking, not much
and
concentrating by
we
the
were,
looks of things.
and we were talking about Damon Albarn. He's had about 1,000 collaborations with Gorillaz, right? 1,000. That's unbelievable, right?
Yeah,
And what that meant is all those 1,000 people have come from somewhere at some point from someone, and then he engages with them and they can get like that. But then obviously, let's argue this point then. If you're not going to help push your artists of bands, vice versa, and only solo artists, then he for example, as a brand, he's not going to have a lot of other people, because if you push the same thing and the same person, it's going to be the same sound and the same thing, and then collaborating will be the same. So you've got to try and widen the market a bit more. That's my thing.
yeah. I suppose I think it's also quite a difficult thing though, because the market itself is so saturated that how do you, how do you,
That's the thing. That's why I'm saying about the
yeah,
X Factor thing.
I do
Give people
think
chance.
I do think, you know, it's looking into things like the things they change, because like we've just discussed, we've just said now that having an amount of social media followers to be able to access something that has always been accessible, and it's also it's something that ironically not allowing access to smaller accounts to do that means that those smaller accounts can then not gain fans or followers or extra, which doesn't really make sense. Another thing that I do think is that I feel like the verification blue tick on socials and on Instagram specifically, that's a pay as you go thing. That's a thing that you've got to invest money in, which but I think it also does make you a certain level of credible, and it allows you to sort of make, to rely on the factor that no one else can then take that away from you in a way. But obviously a lot of bands won't be able to do that, and a lot of people might not be able to afford to pay for things and stuff like that. I feel like it could definitely, and I know that this is in a sense a bit controversial, because they already, you can download their app, you can put stuff on there, and they already give you a massive boost.
Yeah.
But I just feel, for all of those things that are, already to pay, it's just a bit, that's just my timer going off, so it's incredibly off-putting. I'm going to turn it off.
He's a professional, we promise.
Yeah, I'm a professional.
No,
Mom.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
But it's just, it like I was saying, it's quite controversial. But I do feel for certain. I mean, how about, for example, they've got, you need 1,000 followers to go live. Well, why don't you do, if you're under 1,000 followers, you don't need to pay for promotion on Instagram, for example. Something like that allows more. Like I get what you're saying. It's just something that helps the more underground artists. Because if you've got 5 million followers, you don't need any help.
Something to allow people to choose rather than people who just get lucky and pushed.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean,
overall, to be fair, social media is a good and valuable asset. I just feel like, I think for young and up and coming artists, it'd be really good and valuable, not viable, to have a bit of a community to really outlie and find artists for their music a bit more because of them, rather than they have to trend, basically.
And I feel TikTok's doing great at that, because I think you've got a much higher rate of view increase on TikTok than you do on Instagram. Instagram, I feel, is for something different. Instagram is for the people that you already have with you, whereas TikTok is a bit more for the sort of discovery side of things. But it's like everything in the world. It has pros and it has cons. But I think it does mean that a lot of bands or a lot of people, it's great for what they allow them to do. Because like I said, most people these days can afford to buy a small piece of equipment that does not even need to be expensive or brand new, and just make music. Which, if you were a teenager 20, 30 years ago, where you didn't have the access to the things that we've got today, or you certainly weren't able to make, I mean, you might have 20 years ago, but maybe 30 years ago you didn't. I don't think interfaces and doors and things like that existed, but let's not get too technical on the talks here.
No.
But I do think it's great. It's a really good opportunity for people to be able to do that. But like I said, it automatically then makes it harder for everybody, because you're just in a pool of people with just everybody doing the same thing, and there's so much saturation. But I guess that's the thing. It's you treat it as a competition, because
and an
that's where
evolution of yourself as well.
Yeah, but you treat it as competition because that's how you need to treat it, as in the sense of, to be able to get to a certain goal, you have to put it. You have to put your brain into competition mode, but it's also amazing because then it allows you to collaborate with so many people, and I think this is a really interesting topic of conversation, to be honest. I feel like
we've derailed, we've made it a bit more candid.
Yeah, I think we might. Well, this is what it's about. It's unscripted.
It's unscripted.
Like my timer going off.
Yeah.
No, we planned it all. There's about 16 people behind the cameras here.
Yeah.
And
How's makeup ladies over there?
And David here has pressed the timer because is it timer time? Yeah, it's timer time. No, it's just the two of us. Just the two of us. Can make it if we try. Sorry.
I knew that was coming.
I sounded shocking because I've just recovered from a cold. I can't believe it, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, within 3 days' time from this episode being out, you'll have Fall in Line out on all streaming platforms. Yep. And I cannot genuinely wait, because I think I will say that from a level of production, lyrics, and song itself, I think that's probably our best song so far. Yeah, and that's a controversial thing to say. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in once again to episode number 4, I think we're at here. Of
just read the title.
Unscripted. There you go. Yeah. We haven't even got a clue what number episode we're on.
Figure out,
Thank you very much for the support, and we will see you on the next episode of Roots and Wings Unscripted.
See you later,
alligator.